Coming up on Influence Her. In the spirit of the season, we're showing you the tricks and treats of do-it-yourself fun.
And I can't keep a plant alive.
No.
So this right here.
This makes my life
perfect.
a lot easier.
From fall decor that looks like it can send you into sticker shock to recipes that will leave you wide-eyed.
We're ready to play with some food here
I am,
today,
okay.
especially Asia and I.
Why pay more when you can just do it yourself?
You just have to try it. So it's like Nike-ish.
That's happening right now on Influence Her.
Hello, everybody. You're watching Influence Her only on News 12 Plus. I'm Aisha McKenzie.
And I'm Amanda Bossert. Our guest today describes herself as a lover of color, a wrangler of chaos, and my favorite, a thrifter of all things.
All the things.
I love it. Charlotte Smith blogs about life at home with her 5 kids and all her fun finds and creations on her website at charlotteshouse.com. And she's here today to give us some lessons in DIY ideas for your home, which everyone needs.
I think so too.
Yes.
I'm going to do my best.
Well, thanks for joining us today. So how did you even get started in doing all these crafts?
Oh my goodness, it's such a circuitous journey. I used to be a school guidance counselor,
Okay.
so not as crafty as I would have liked, but I've always been crafty, I would say. And then we used to live in Brooklyn and we moved to Connecticut. And when I landed in Connecticut, I no longer had a school guidance counselor position, and I was like, I don't know what to do with my time. And we had an old house at the time, so I had to do projects around there. And it sort of bloomed into the DIY blog, and I do a lot of sort of DIY stuff around the house in addition to the crafting. So basically what I would be doing anyway in my free time, I turned into a job, into a business.
So a lot of us, I mean, I'm not that crafty, but I see you have a lot on the table that I feel like I could do it.
You can do it. Give me 10 minutes with
Yes.
you. And
What's
we're
your
gonna
slogan? You said you have a slogan for...
I think that so many people get in their own heads when it comes to DIY and crafting. It's like, no, I can't. So I say you just have to try it. So it's like Nike-ish.
I like it.
Just
Just
try
gotta-
it.
Just try it.
Teach us how to just try our hands at one of these things.
Yes.
Okay, so let's start. Should we start in the middle?
Yes, I like these right here.
So I love this. I went to the craft store, and this is a basic wooden planter. And if you like the way the wooden planter looks, then great. You've already been, halfway there. I wanted to cover it with a little pattern. I love this sort of indigo cloth.
Yes.
So I literally glued it on, just craft glue on the outside. I put a little ribbon around the edge here so that you didn't see the raw edge, i.e. I didn't have to pay attention when I was cutting the fabric.
and such a simple
Smart.
detail too, and
It's
nice.
so simple. And then these are, I don't know if you could tell, these are faux flowers.
Yes.
And the reason I love working with faux flowers, not only are there so many varieties, but obviously you don't have to worry about taking care of them. And you can be a little more flexible with how you use them. There is literally some sort of that garden oasis also at the fabric store. And then I just cut them and I stuck them in.
And you can change it
so
up each
easy.
season if you want to, too.
So I think what makes this unique and elevates it is not only the use of color play. If you give me a rainbow option, I am going to check that and do it. But I also think adding the extra layer of this fabric, which doesn't necessarily scream sort of fall, and then adding a little ribbon. 3 really simple steps, but when you put them all together, I have this in my house and I love it. If you cut these little flowers, kids can stick those in all day long. It's great for their fine motor skills, so your mom of the year. So this would be a fun collaborative activity for the family for sure.
Love it. And we're going to this pumpkin here, which
yeah.
I like, has like a goth look.
I
I'm
love
there
it.
for it. I like it.
So this is a little spin on the colorful pumpkins I showed you before. This is it's not a real pumpkin. You could certainly do this with a real pumpkin. And these are just grommets that I found in the sewing aisle. And I used my hot glue gun and I glued them in place. So this is, I'm working on a Halloween mantle right now. And so this is an example of something that I would put on the mantle. So it's not quite as traditional as your typical pumpkin. But a lot of these things I will be doing on one end of the kitchen table while the kids are doing homework in another part of the house. So I do like that all of these are, pretty, they fit into a busy household pretty well. And then they're gorgeous.
They
and
are.
it's
They're
15
beautiful.
minutes spent making that, but you could use it year after year. I mean,
Yes.
that's a timeless look for fall
Yeah.
and Halloween specifically.
Yeah, and it's, it's going to cost you $5 or $6.
Perfect.
So I know.
Which is
so
nothing.
perfect.
Speaking of fall, this
Here we go.
arrangement, I had my eye on it the entire time.
I like the basket that it's in.
Yeah, can we start with the basket?
Basket. So remember I mentioned that autumn colors are tricky for me.
Yes.
So one of the ways that I try to decorate for the season is with scents, and nothing says fall to me more than a chunky, cozy woolen sweater.
Yes.
So obviously yarn was my go-to. Ton of people have just leftover yarn, so that would be my first suggestion. But if you go to any craft store, there are rows and rows of beautiful colors. So again, I chose these colors because I love them, and I will put pink in anything. But you could do this with blacks and whites if you like more of a farmhouse vibe. So it's literally a wire basket, and I took a strand of yarn and I doubled it. Sometimes I quadrupled it, and I just wove it in and out. In and out. And if you do that enough, you fill in the gaps. You can't see the basket behind it. And I love that this took, you know, you go to the home decor store, what are these, $6.99, $8.99?
Yeah,
something. They're not a lot. And the yarn is, if you have leftovers, free. But even yarn is maybe, you know, I have quite a few colors going on here, but let's say you pick 2 colors. So that's maybe $6. And all of a sudden, what might be just a basket that you've seen in every house in the country is so unique and one of a kind.
And I feel like this will be therapeutic, just yarn and just wrapping it around and just making it look beautiful.
Get you in the sweater weather mood, which I've been craving.
And not to be all extra, you could also, if you know, we've all snipped a sweater and had it sort of pull apart on us. If you really wanted to get the family involved, there's no reason you couldn't thrift sweaters and then sort of deconstruct them and use the yarn from the sweaters. I mean, that's completely over the top, but it's a way to sort of involve people, and it could be sort of a fun challenge. So,
how long does it take you to weave in and out, especially with all the different colors?
This one was a little bit longer, but again, it's busy work. I mean, this is not brain surgery. This is busy work. So this is sort of my. Sometimes people will say, "Do you ever meditate?" And I don't. But this becomes my meditation.
No, it makes sense.
Because I'm just kind of doing, it's repetitive, and I love thinking about the colors. So the basket itself is really the hero here. And then again, these are not real succulents. Don't be thinking, and I figured that out. And you can buy these at the craft store. There's so many of them. You always want to make sure you have a coupon. And I just stuck them in sort of any which way, and that actually I think could last well through the winter into spring.
I like this.
Especially that arrangement.
Beautiful. I know, isn't that so pretty?
Talking about succulents, this is so
Amanda
simple,
loves
but
this.
I love. You should see my desk. I've got succulents all over. So this is
Amanda,
like.
we'll have you hold the.
I'm
since you love
here
it.
for it. I mean,
do.
it seems so simple, but it's such a statement.
So we have a shelf in our house that is a little bit too low just to have nothing on it, but it's a little bit too high to use. And I was trying to figure out what could I put up here that wouldn't be trashed by the kids. And so I just gathered all my little bell jars like this, and I found all sorts of faux succulents. Again, I don't have to worry about it. And so it's a really simple touch, but when you put 10 of these in one place, I think it looks really chic and fun.
I like it.
And what I love about a bell jar is it is the easiest way to swap out for the season. So at Christmas, maybe I'll put little sort of round ornaments inside of it.
Oh my goodness, that'd be so beautiful.
And in the summer, you could even grab some faux flowers. So a bell jar is definitely one of my design sort of hacks for bringing in a little bit of season without feeling like you're being too kitschy or too kind of over the top with it.
No, I like it.
And you find these at the craft store?
Yeah.
Love it.
Or even IKEA.
Even better.
I know.
That
right?
store has everything.
It really does.
Exactly.
The succulents too. You can find it there.
So we have a real. I think this is the first picture we showed, right? Or am I?
This is similar.
Similar,
This
okay.
I literally pulled off of our front door. This is a recent project. Again, my colors are at least on theme, I will say.
No, I love it. Honestly, I could put this all in one room here.
Indeed.
So what I love about this is that the materials are the most basic. This is just quilting cotton, and then if you flip it around, this is just a metal wreath, but any wreath would work. I happened to grab that one, and the only thing I did that was a little bit fancy is that I ironed on this interfacing. You see how it's a little bit sort of cloudy white on the background? That is, you literally iron it, so if I haven't used my clothing iron for anything other than crafts for years, but it just keeps the leaves a little bit sturdier. And then I just used scissors and I cut them all out, and I used a hot glue gun and I glued them all on. And this, you know, it's holding up to the elements fine, but also it's just cotton. I mean, this is not fancy, any of this.
And you would put this outside your door.
It's right outside.
Can you put it in your home as well?
Yes.
I love it.
And you can choose whatever colors. Maybe you do circles if you don't want to do leaves. I mean, there's so many different ways to add your personal touch on this.
I'm enjoying. I love this.
I mean, I'm inspired. I
may
feel
not
like
go home with
now I'm
this.
going to go home and try to craft, and maybe
No,
I'll
seriously.
finally get it. This is great.
So do you have any tips on anyone who's just starting out, who may not really know how to even properly cut
Or maybe
leaves
gets
out?
in their head about it and doesn't want to start because they don't think they can do it?
Right. Well, I think as women and as moms, so many of us are juggling so many things. It's so easy to say, I just can't. I don't have time for this right now. I don't have budget for this right now. So what I would say is that you do. The answer is always yes. You can figure out a way. So that's just sort of, you have to change the script a little bit. But I would also say that places like Pinterest, YouTube, Google, they are all your friends. I didn't know how to do many of these things, and so you Google how to retile a bathroom, and before you know it, you have just pages and pages of resources. So the internet can be very scary and overwhelming, but it is also a place where you can get reassurance, and people can, I saw other moms that were doing this kind of stuff, and I thought, oh, well, that's kind of cool. It's not just contractors that are taking out a bathroom and rebuilding it. It's moms, and she has kids that I can see them right there watching as they're doing it. So I would say you can do it. So that's change your script and just start small. All of these projects, again, they may look complicated when you just see them all displayed on one table, but they are in essence one very simple, small decision that leads to the next, that leads to the next. And so maybe you don't do your whole house, but maybe you buy a cloche or a bell jar. Maybe you buy one of these things and you put, something your kids made at school, and that's on your coffee table, and that's your holiday decor for the year. And then next year, you're like, you know what? I'm feeling a little extra. We're going to do more. So that's how it starts.
So just start small.
Exactly.
I'm going to try something this season, and I'm going to get your approval from it. See
I
how you feel.
I have your cell phone, so I want you texting
Like, how does
me.
this look? She's going to be like, I don't know.
No, just do it. Just do it.
Well, Charlotte, thank you so much. These are all absolutely beautiful, and I can't wait to try it out.
Oh, my eyes are on the bell jar. That's my first.
I'm watching both of you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Everybody, you're watching Influence Her only on News 12 Plus. I'm Aisha McKenzie.
And I'm Amanda Bossard. We're sticking with our fun and creative theme today, and right now, we're talking food.
I love food.
Oh, I know, me too. Our guest today, Remy Morimoto Park, is a full-time recipe developer. I want to know how I get that job,
Seriously.
okay? So you know that she has some great tips that she's going to share with us today.
Now, she features a lot of her recipes on her blog, Veggiekins, a nod to her focus on keeping it healthy and fun. And check it out because they look just as good as they taste, I bet. Remy, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
So you're combining food and fun. That's something that Amanda and I both love.
Oh, yeah. We want to know a little bit more about how you get to those recipes that you make.
So I think what's really important is a lot of people think that healthy food is very boring. I'm actually vegan, and I know a lot of people think it's all salads, all fruits and veggies, but there's actually so much room to play around with ingredients. So that's kind of how I started my blog. I started sharing the recipes that I was playing with as I was learning how to eat vegan, and then I realized that it's still important to make it fun so that people are interested in trying it out. I think you can make pretty much any diet a little bit more fun, and we are definitely going to do a little bit of that today. I know a lot of people say don't play with your food, but I think it's one of the best ways to get your kids to eat healthy and just have a really fun relationship with food and eating healthy.
Okay, well, we're ready to play with some food here today, especially
Okay.
Aisha and I. So we have a lot of ingredients on the table. Just to get us started, what are we going to be making here today, Remy?
So we're going to be making edible googly eyes, and I like to put these on snacks, fruits, veggies, and healthy foods especially to get my little cousins to eat them. So it's a great way if you've got kids and you want them to like load up on their veggies or eat something that maybe they're kind of like, ooh, broccoli. This is a great way to just make them fun. I also love it for parties, like birthday parties.
I mean, Halloween's coming up.
Yes.
Halloween, yeah, a little spooky season. So we're going to be making eyeballs, and they look a little bit like this. So googly eyes, but you can eat them, and they're made with only 2 ingredients.
I imagine you can really put them on anything too.
Yeah.
We've got an array of things that we're going to attach them to today. I know.
So let's see, where do we start if we're making the googly eyes
So
here?
I usually like to start using organic powdered sugar or any kind of powdered sugar that you have. This is like the perfect base because it's just white, and even though it is sugar, it's just a little bit to add some fun to a recipe, and it's more for decoration than anything. So we're going to be using this and then adding just a little bit of water, and that's basically the gist of the recipe. You can add a chocolate chip for the center of the eyeball, and then we're gonna glue it on with some date paste or anything that's kind of sticky that's edible.
Oh, that's amazing.
So
I love that.
We have the powdered sugar. Are we going to add a little bit of water to
Yes.
that? So a teaspoon is what you said, I believe,
you really
right?
only need a teaspoon. Less is more. Once you add too much, it gets very liquidy and you can't go back, so less is
all.
always more. Definitely.
So what made you think of eyes?
I make a lot of very fun looking desserts. I love to put like eyeballs on my cookies and make like ghost shaped cookies
Oh, I
or
love
animal
that.
shaped cookies. I think it's really kid friendly and just like fun for adults too. I think it's really fun. So yeah, I think it's really cute to put on like even sandwiches or whatever you're serving at like a party.
I bet it's a conversation starter for all the kids who come to
yeah.
school with snacks that have the
It's
googly
like, oh,
eyes
can you
on
eat
it.
that?
Right. And then probably the parents asking, how did you do that? So I can do it
Exactly.
for my kid as well.
Exactly. So we're adding it. So once you do that and it gets thicker, you can mold it.
Yes,
Okay.
you can actually mold it or you can use like a piping bag. We're gonna just kind of spoon it onto this parchment paper
Okay, awesome.
and then it'll dry into perfect eyeballs. We don't have as much time to wait for them to dry today, but we have some
Okay.
ready. And then we can stick them on some
look like
fruit.
this.
You should get like a thick paste. You don't want it to be too runny, almost like a frosting.
Gotcha, okay.
It does take a while to set, so I would make this like the day before maybe and let it
Mm-hmm.
dry overnight in the fridge if you can, or just leave it out on the counter.
So do you take the spoon and you take it out? Like how exactly would you
Yeah, I
form 'em?
would use like a spoon, or you could even kind of do little droplets like
So we
this.
can bring this closer to you so we can show off the droplets here.
Ooh,
So
high
simple.
pressure.
Something so simple it looks cool. I like
And
that.
only, what, 3 ingredients really is all
Yeah,
you need.
3
The water,
ingredients.
the sugar, and then the chocolate
Yeah,
chip.
inexpensive, and I love powdered sugar, so this is perfect.
With
know,
a
who
chocolate
doesn't,
chip
right?
too. I mean,
So once
that'll
you
get me to
have,
eat anything.
Okay, and you can make them any size you want, really.
yeah, and you
okay.
can make them like organic shapes if you want to too, but you can kind of just like make a little circle like this. It's pretty forgiving because it
Okay.
does take some time to dry. So once you
Gotcha.
have sort of the eyeball base, you can add chocolate chips, or you can use food coloring if you want to, or natural dyes to make like a black color, and then plop that on top. But we're gonna use chocolate chips if you guys wanna just place them.
Okay,
Let's do it.
Amanda, you go.
I know.
Because
I'm here for the
I was like
chocolate
the kid.
chip.
I'm so
I'm
excited.
here for the chocolate chip. Okay, right in the center.
Oh,
Yeah, and you can make them
This
like
is
to
so
the
cute. I
side
love
if you
that.
want to make them cross-eyed too. You can do whatever
love
you
it.
want. So
Have
that's
some
one
fun.
eyeball.
So show us how you put it on the actual fruit or anything that you want to prepare.
Okay, so let's do a butternut squash or a honey nut squash.
Okay.
So I like to use a date paste, which is just blended dates.
Okay.
It's really good because it's very natural. It's just one ingredient with a little bit of water, and it's super sticky. So this is actually. Whoop.
It's all good.
Okay, so it's really, really sticky, like you can see here.
Mm-hmm.
And a thick paste like this is the best because it means the eyeballs won't slip around. So if you guys want to pick out maybe 2
Ooh,
eyeballs
okay.
of choice.
We'll get the large one down there. You
Let's
see
go
it?
there.
Yeah, the
Let's
big
go
guy.
with that. That's one. We got 2.
All right,
We'll
perfect.
keep it consistent
Yeah.
for the squash.
So then you want to just put on your paste like wherever you want your eyeballs to be, and then just stick them on.
All right, Aisha, you go for it
All right,
first.
so I'll get this first one here.
Oh, how fun. And I got this
Oh,
one.
this is so cute. I
Oh
would
my
draw, like, a
gosh,
little,
and they
little
stick.
mouth here.
Like,
Yeah,
it
very
really
well.
sticks. Exactly. Oh, could you
We
imagine?
have to name it now.
Oh,
Ooh.
I would
Remy?
combine-
Kind of feeling Harold.
Harold,
Harold,
yeah. So Remy's
Harold
super
is-
easy, super fun, and it's something you could do just to relax yourself. Make your food look cute.
with the kids
Yeah.
too, to have some fun and maybe encourage them to eat a squash that maybe
Right.
otherwise they'd be a little
Exactly.
bit hesitant to go for.
Or
I
even
think this
adults.
is super fun, especially if you want to introduce a new ingredient to them to just kind of maybe make it a character, and then later on when they're having like a soup or a salad, they remember it's Harold.
And you say you
love
do this
that.
for your little cousin, so this is perfect. I gotta get my nephews to eat more
Yeah,
food.
and it's great.
There you go.
Whatever you want to put on cookies, sandwiches, you know, you can get creative and put on whatever really.
And you really have a variety of these kinds of recipes posted on your blog?
Yes, and I have a full recipe for the eyeballs as well, so you'll see them a lot. A lot of my foods, I just kind of stick them on, but it's super easy to make, and yeah, you can really use them on whatever you want to convince a kid to eat, or just make your own lunch a little bit more exciting.
I love it. You gotta check out Veggiekins. I know I'll be getting some ideas.
Absolutely. Remy, thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for walking us through this today and
course.
for helping us create Harold.
We'll be right back.
Welcome back, everyone, to Influence Her. I hope you enjoyed our DIY fun week here on Influence Her. I mean, Aisha and I sure did.
It was amazing. We learned so much from these two women. Remy and Charlotte showed us things that we probably didn't even think of before that is right in our house. Like things we can use. I love it.
Remy's ideas and her recipes, at least the googly eyes, were made of 3 ingredients that you probably already have in the kitchen cupboard.
Exactly.
Same with Charlotte. She turned a basket into a work of art with just some leftover yarn.
I mean, I would have never thought to do that, and that's why Charlotte was in the house.
And
I
you
love
know
it.
what? That's the best part of it all, right? Is she's teaching us things that are maybe outside of our comfort zones, but that we can easily achieve if we just try it, to steal a line from her.
And just put a little time aside. And what I really did love about Charlotte's ideas were you always try to make your space your own, right? And you wanted to make it seem like, you know, I live here. And what better way to do that than with DIY projects that you could say to your guests, you know, I actually made that. And it makes your house just that much cooler and warmer. And that's what I really loved about what Charlotte showed.
And the same thing with Remy. I mean, she's trying to make healthier options fun for not just the kids in the house who might be hesitant to try a vegetable or two, but for the adults as well. I mean, if I were to bring in the googly eyes here to the newsroom, game over.
Exactly.
Everyone's going to be talking about it.
Very intrigued. And what I love is it doesn't stop here. On their blogs, they have so many, Remy has so many more recipes, Charlotte has so many more craft ideas. These women really are amazing.
Yeah, so you should definitely give them a follow or check them out. For Charlotte Smith, it's at Charlotte's House, and for Remy Morimoto Park, it's at Veggiekins. So definitely give them a follow to see what more they have in store and what more they can teach us as well.
They have a lot to teach us. But we thank you for tuning in to Influence Her this week. I hope you had a good time.
And we'll see you next week right here on News 12 Plus.